Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Timothy Mulroy on the line. He's managing partner over at Northwestern Mutual in Newport Beach. Timothy, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here.
All right, so I'm excited to get more into what you're doing over at Northwestern Mutual, but before we get into that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career and in business?
So I'm 39 now. I started when I was 22, but to be frank, I've been in sales since I was 12 years old. Grew up in a family, not much money around, lived in Section 8 apartments for a period of time. Birthdays and Christmases were, sneakers and sweatpants, and so anything extra I wanted in life, I had to work for it. I started at 12 years old doing so. And when I graduated college, this was a perfect opportunity to allow me to kind of transcend my background.
Man, that's awesome. I love that. And one of the big things that I like about what you're doing overall is obviously you're helping people with finances, and we're going to get into that also. But you're really about helping their whole being. Let's talk a little bit more about your revolutionary 10. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Revolutionary coaching. Tell me a little bit more about that, please.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess it was about 8 years ago now. Was another election year, although it seems like we're kind of always in an election year. And our country was very divided. Everyone's complaining. Everybody's whining. People are complaining about, the government's not doing enough. Leaders aren't doing enough. And that was the same year I had a really big challenge in my business. And I just woke up one day, and it was almost like this flash of lightning, like this revelation of like, nothing is going to change unless we change it ourselves. And so I got determined that day to do my part, and for whatever reason decided I was going to call it the revolution. And what the revolution really is, it's about believing that every single person is capable of and deserving of a 10 out of 10 life, whether that's personally, professionally, financially, spiritually, whatever it is. But I've got this belief that none of us are really going to get to a 10 out of 10 life on our own, that it takes another person to look into your eyes, see something greater than you already are, and with love, compassion, challenge, vision, and really just a coherent process, pulling out that bigger, better part of you, and that then you could pass that gift on to others.
Man, that's awesome. And so what do you find, in working with and with this philosophy, what do you find are some of the challenges that people typically have in this realm?
I think really one of the biggest challenges people have to not achieving more in their life, and I don't say achievement like achievement's this end all. When I'm using achievement, meaning realizing their potential and really having or being or doing what it is that they want for their reasons. I think the biggest block for most people is the story as to why they can't have it. The stories we believe are the stories that limit us, right? Because all of us are living in our own unique reality, shaped with references from our own experiences and our own past. And so I think the first thing, if you want to help somebody get closer to their 10 out of 10, you have to do is understand the story they believe that's keeping them at whatever level they're currently at.
Man, that makes so much sense. You can see that happening, and it plays out over and over. And to me, it's almost like a cycle. It's almost like you have to break that cycle if you really want to get to, like maybe, and again, what your 10 is or what your 6 is or what your 7 is, who knows? It's going to be different for everybody. But if you're at that 6 or that 7 or that 5 and you're thinking about how do I get to that next whatever that is for you, right? But using numbers and what we're doing here, what it takes is to kind of break through that cycle.
Totally. And I'll give you a little clue. Most people know what they need to do to progress. Like most people don't fail for a lack of knowing how. They fail either for that story as to why they can't, or they fail because they're not connected to enough reasons as to why they must go to the next level. And just to put some concrete examples to that, why they must save more money, why they must, improve their diet and the way they eat or their relationship with food, or why they must change the way they view their role in the partnership with their significant other, right? Like that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, I want to spend some time on what you're doing over at Northwestern Mutual. So tell us a little bit more about your practice and what you work on, please.
Yeah, so I came to California about 7 years ago to take over as the managing partner here in Newport Beach. I started my practice when I was 22 in York, Pennsylvania. And as I mentioned earlier, I got into this business because it was an opportunity to, build a business that could give me freedom financially, freedom from a time standpoint, influence on my calendar, and to be a significant influencer in the lives of others. And so I worked really hard. I had amazing mentors, amazing coaches. And after about 5 years, one of my primary coach that I was working with challenged me. He said, "Hey, Tim, you're doing really well. You have the potential to maybe be one of the best at Northwestern Mutual, but I think you'll never really achieve what you're capable of unless you have a vision or a mission that's something bigger than you." And so at that time, my managing partner tapped me on the shoulder and gave me an opportunity to begin recruiting and developing others in a managing director role. Then fast forward 5 years later, we were doing really well. We had one of the top offices in the country. My personal practice was thriving, and the home office executives thought that I was worth a shot, and they offered me the managing partner opportunity here in Newport Beach. So my wife and I left everyone we knew, everyone we loved, all our family, all my clients, and I transitioned a lot of my practice to a good friend. And so now that we land at Newport Beach, it's like, hey, I'm your new leader. So took over the organization. So pretty cool opportunity, but nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Man, what an amazing story. I love your story. It's really good. And I can see why you have your revolutionary program and what you're doing. I mean, you really want to, you don't get successful. You don't get those opportunities. You don't get to work in a market like Newport Beach. You don't get all these things unless a lot of people and a lot of things go right. And you worked hard to make a lot of those things go right. So I love it. It's a great story. So that being said, Timothy, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more or to connect on the projects you're working on or on Northwestern Mutual, or just connect in general, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so, we're on all the social media platforms. So on Instagram, my handle would be @TMMulroy. There's not a lot of Timothy Mulroys out there. And so if you look for me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Google or whatever, you'll find me. We've got a website and all that stuff too. But, so I just say reach out, direct message me on one of the platforms, and I'd love to just connect, get to know you, and see if I can help you or add value to your life in any way.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Timothy, it's been great having you on the show today. Thanks again for coming on and sharing your story and why you do what you do. To the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes store. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the comment section. Love to hear what kind of projects and things you're working on. And Timothy, thanks for coming on the show.